Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you enjoyed your meal and are having a pleasant evening. So as you heard from Claire, this year's benefit dinner theme is Expecting Greatness. And I just wanted to share a little bit about my personal experience at St. Ambrose and how I have risen to the challenges presented to me. When I first arrived at St. Ambrose as a sixth grader, I remember being inspired by the heightened expectations set before the students and the willingness of the teachers to help us overcome those challenges. For example, if any of you would have told me 3 years ago that I would write a 2,000-word paper this year, I would not have believed it. But nevertheless, Mr. Quas, the History 4 teacher, knows that we all have the potential to rise to any challenge at hand and is helping us along the way. And now here I am ready to write the first third of my paper after months of researching and outlining, and more researching and more outlining. I wouldn't have expected that I could take on a challenge like this, but the teachers do, and every year they expect us to continually build off of our past accomplishments to further discover who we are and more closely imitate Christ. This past March, I had an experience which taught me a lot about myself and what I'm capable of. I had the honor of being the assistant backstage director, and I oversaw stage left in the musical Mary Poppins. It was one night before our first show, and I made one minor mistake in the beginning of the rehearsal. What should have been a very small issue for me threw me off for the rest of the night, and I made numerous more mistakes because I let that get to me. After the show was done, Mrs. Heinlein, the musical director, approached me and asked what went wrong. I can only imagine how she was feeling with such problems going on one day before the first show. So I explained to her what happened, and the first thing she said back to me was, "I'm not mad at you." My initial reaction was, yes, I'm off the hook. But then I realized that she wasn't mad at me because she expected that I would pick myself up and fix the problem by the next day. She knew and I knew that I could and needed to do better in order to do our best as a company. What I had displayed that night was not my best, and I knew that. So I went home that night and, being the perfectionist that I am, stayed up until 1 o'clock creating a spreadsheet that showed exactly what the plan was for each and every scene. The next day, I returned to the stage with lots of caffeine, a spreadsheet, and a new mindset on handling issues. Mrs. Heinlein was impressed by my perseverance and resilience to letting problems get to me. She was even more impressed by our flawless first show, on stage left at least. It was only because of Mrs. Heinlein's expectation that I was able to draw out of myself the determination to complete my task and overcome my fear of failure. She expected that greatness in me, and in doing so taught me what I was capable of. Now, as an upperclassman, I'm continuing to seek out in myself what I'm capable of and seeing myself growing as a leader. Now, I've always been a loud and obnoxious kid. Don't just take my word for it, you can ask any of my teachers. However, my experiences at St. Ambrose have taught me how to translate some of that annoying, constant chatter into a more productive use and refine my ability to easily communicate into leadership roles, like bossing around my little brother. But more so, I'm now one of the cross-country team captains, the president of student council, and the backstage crew director for this year's musical, The Wizard of Oz. It is experiences like this that are what will set me apart from my peers later in my career, and the lessons they teach me will be crucial for pursuing my vocation in life. So I sincerely thank all of you tonight for giving me these opportunities to continually grow, because without them, I would not be where I am today. I also encourage all of you tonight to seek out where greatness is expected in you, either by others or by Christ, and rise to the challenge and overcome it, so that we may all continually grow closer to our Lord. So thank you all for being here tonight, and may God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.